So, one of the major events that took place in Medina was the changing of the Qibla. So, while the Prophet ﷺ was in Makkah, we know that he faced Bayt al-Maqdis, which is in Jerusalem. So, whenever he would offer salat, he would face Bayt al-Maqdis. And he would read in such a manner that both the Kaaba and Bayt al-Maqdis would be in front of him. So in order to do this, what he would do is that he used to position himself between Rukn al-Yamani. He used to position himself between Rukn al-Yamani and Hajar al-Aswad. And this is how he would offer prayer. Right? So he would be facing both the Kaaba and Bayt al-Maqdis. And another amazing miracle of Allah is that the Kaaba was built in such a way that if a person placed themselves between those two prominent points, they would face Bayt al-Maqdis. So whoever, to this day, right now, that's not the Qibla anymore, but technically whoever is praying in between Rukn al-Yamani and Hajar al-Aswad, they're facing Bayt al-Maqdis. I mean, it's a straight line, straight to Bayt al-Maqdis. And it's a miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Rasulullah came to Medina, it wasn't possible to face both places at the same time, because Medina is located in between Makkah and Bayt al-Maqdis. So it would only be possible to face one of the locations. Therefore, Rasulullah faced Bayt al-Maqdis, because that was the Qibla, that was the order and command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this carried on for approximately 16, 17 months after the migration, after the Hijrah. And Masjid Nabawi, originally when it was built with the Qibla, the direction of Bayt al-Maqdis, right? And the Prophet of Allah sallallahu developed a desire and yearning in his heart to pray towards the Kaaba. So he kept looking up towards the sky, and he's wondering, when will the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come? When is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come, so that I can pray towards the Kaaba? So it happened in the middle of Sha'ban, in the second year of the Hijrah. Middle of the Sha'ban, second year of the Hijrah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the revelation that قَدْ نَرَى تَقَلُّبَ وَجْهِكَ فِي السَّمَاءِ فَلَنُوَلِّيَنَّكَ قِبْلَةً تَرْضَاهَا, that we've certainly seen the turning of your face, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, towards the sky, and we will surely turn you to a Qibla which you will be pleased with. So turn your face in the direction of Masjid Haram, and wherever you are, turn your faces towards its direction in prayer. And the people of the book will know that it is the truth from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah is not aware of what they do. So this was the verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this was when the Qibla changed. In a hadith it comes that Ibn Umar narrated that while some people were offering the morning prayers in Quba, someone came to them and said that verily Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam received revelation tonight, and he has been commanded to face the Kaaba. So face towards it. So the people were facing towards Sham, like the Maqdis, and so they turned towards the Kaaba. And another hadith, Anas narrated that Rasulullah used to pray salat towards Bayt al-Maqdis. Then it was revealed to him that we've certainly seen the turning of your face, O Muhammad, towards the sky. So turn your face in the direction of Masjid Haram. So a person from Banu Salama, this is one of the tribes, he was going. So he found the people in ruku. While they were praying Salatul Fajr. They prayed one rakat. They had prayed one rakat. So he said in a loud voice, listen, that the Qibla has been changed, and these people, they turned towards the new Qibla, Masjid Haram, in that very state, while they were in ruku. So you can imagine, how much movement there must have been. In Fathul Bari, it mentions that it is said that Rasulullah went to visit Bishr, Ibn al-Bara ibn al-Ma'rud, in the locality of Banu Salama. So she had prepared food for the Prophet ﷺ and his companions. Time of Dhuhr came, and Rasulullah read 2 rakats. And this was when the command actually came to turn in the direction of the Kaaba, so he turned towards the Kaaba. This is one narration. that the command came at Dhuhr time. Another narration, it comes that the command came at night. So you have multiple narrations. But there is no conflict in these narrations because it simply means that some people receive the news later. Because of course, whatever is revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, the scribes, they will know the command. But it takes time for the wahy to eventually make its way to the Muslims who are living on the outskirts of Medina. However, nonetheless, the Prophet ﷺ, he was in this particular masjid and the command came and he turned. And this place today is known as Masjid Qiblatain because Rasulullah ﷺ had offered salat over there. So many people who visit Medina and they go for ziyarah and stuff, they will notice in this particular Masjid Qiblatain that there are two mihrabs, two niches. There's two mihrab, two niches. One in the direction of Bayt al-Maqdis, Jerusalem, and the other in the direction of the Haram, where people are offering salat up to this day. The mihrab facing Bayt al-Maqdis was removed. Now there is a marker there in the direction of Bayt al-Maqdis. Now the change in Qibla also meant that there had to be changes to the layout of Masjid Nabawi. So the back wall of the masjid was now in the direction of the Qibla. So previously the residences of Rasulullah were to the back and to the right of the masjid. After the change in Qibla, they were now to the front and left as we see them today. And after the Qibla had changed, the part of the masjid which was next to the original Qibla on the northern side, that was reserved for those companions who had nowhere to stay. That's known as Ashab al-Sufa. Those companions were known as Ashab al-Sufa. So they were weak, poor Muslims, they were patient on their poverty, and they were more thankful and happy than those who were affluent. So these people, as I said, they were known as Ashab al-Sufa. Sufa means ledge. Sufa means ledge or a platform or covered area. So the people who stayed in that area, they were given this name. So they would spend the night and day in self-reformation, self-rectification, and present themselves at the service of the Prophet ﷺ to learn about Islam. Abu Hurairah happened to be from Ashab al-Sufa. He was one of the Ashab al-Sufa, although he himself, from where he was quite affluent, he was quite wealthy. But obviously leaving your hometown, settling in Medina, you can't bring, it wasn't as if they had, branches of banks, right, to, go to an ATM and pick up money. It didn't work like that. It didn't work that way. So Abu Hurairah, he narrates that I saw 70 from the Ashab al-Sufa. There was no man amongst them who had a sheet which covered the upper part of the body. So they either had an izar, a sheet which covers the lower part of the body, or a sheet which they had to tie around their necks. This was their state. They were poor people. They were destitute people. So some of these sheets reached the middle part of their shins, and some of them reached their ankles, and they would gather the sheets with their hands so their awrah, the intimate body parts, would not be exposed. This was the state that they were residing in Medina. And Rasulullah had so much love and respect for Ashab al-Sufa, and this shows the maqam of those people who are living in poverty, and yet they are still making an effort in learning the deen, in acquiring knowledge. And the people today that come to mind are the people of Gaza. The people of Gaza, even in the state that they're in, where they have nothing. They have nothing. They're pretty much living in poverty. But they still frequent the masajid. They still sit in halaqas of Quran, and they still memorize Quran. The people of Gaza. So this, I would say that the sunnah of Ashab al-Sufa is still being practiced today by these mujahideen and by these brothers and sisters in Gaza. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alleviate their suffering. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them Jannatul Firdaus. Some of them, Muhammad ibn Sirin, he mentions when evening time used to arrive, Rasulullah would share out the people of As-Sufa amongst the other companions. So some of them used to take 2, 3, some even more. Sa'ad ibn Ubadah, he was a chief. So he used to take 80 people at a time, he would feed them. Sa'ad ibn Ubadah. Abu Hurairah says that because he was from the people of Sufa, when the evening arrived, they all used to go to Rasulullah. Rasulullah would hand over 1 or 2 of them to the wealthy companions. And whoever was left, they would join the Prophet ﷺ, they would share his food with him, and after eating, they would spend the night in the masjid. In Masjid Nabwi, there were two pillars which had ropes tied to them. So the Ansar, what they used to do, they used to get, because they were farmers and they had fields and orchards. So they would get bunches of fruit from their orchards and they would hang them on these ropes for Ashab al-Sufa. It was the generosity of the Ansar. So the Ashab al-Sufa then used to bring the fruits down with their sticks whenever they were hungry. They would take it down and they would eat the fruit. And Mu'adh ibn Jabal, one of the Ansari Sahaba, he would supervise this. Mu'adh ibn Jabal is one of the companions whom the Prophet ﷺ sent to Yemen. Jabir radhiyallahu narrates that Rasulullah said that for every 10 bunches of fruit, one bunch should be brought to the masjid for the poor people. So this was the consideration of Rasulullah ﷺ. He built this community, a community of empathy, a community of caring, a community of being mindful of others, that everybody was accountable to each other and to one another. And this was the brotherhood and the mu'akhat that Rasulullah ﷺ created. And this is something that all communities should be striving for, living as minorities in the United States or any Western country for that matter. In another hadith, it mentions that Rasulullah gave the order that every person who owns an orchard should bring one bunch and hang it in the masjid for the poor people. Auf ibn Malik al-Ash'ari said that Rasulullah came out and a man had hung up one or more bunches of dates. But the Prophet ﷺ, he took a stick and he started hitting that bunch of dates like repeatedly. And he was saying that if the owner of these dates wanted to give in sadaqah, charity, he should have given something better than what he has given. These were rotten dates. These were not good dates. They were not good dates. And this is something to learn from, that when we give sadaqah, we should give the best of what we have. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, that you will not achieve righteousness. You will never, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ. You will never achieve righteousness until you spend from that which you love. If you're going to give in charity, something that is used, something that you don't like, so that isn't much of a charity, is it? That isn't much of a charity. Sure, you're going to get reward. It's the thought that counts, that perhaps someone else can make use of it. But the charity which is most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is spending and giving from that which you love. This is the ultimate charity. And this is the charity that has value in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then the Prophet ﷺ said that verily the owner of this sadaqah will eat rotten and shriveled dates on the day of Qiyamah, on account of this person giving these substandard dates. The number of Ashab al-Sufa used to fluctuate. Sometimes there would be more, sometimes less. Scholars, they've compiled entire compendiums just on the names of Ashab al-Sufa. I mean, you have pretty much the who's who of Sahaba who are part of Ashab al-Sufa one time or another. You have Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, Ammar ibn Yasir, the son of Yasir and Sumayya, who had been persecuted and martyred in Makkah. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he was from amongst them, the great narrator of hadith. Miqdad ibn Amr, Khabbab ibn Arat, Bilal ibn Abi Rabah, Suhaib ibn Sinan, also known as Suhaib al-Rumi, Zayd ibn al-Khattab, he was the brother of Umar ibn Khattab, Abu Kabsha, he was one of the freed slaves of the Prophet ﷺ. Salim, he was one of the great reciters of the Quran. He was the freed slave of Abu Huzaifa. Misbah, the cousin of Abu Bakr, radiyallahu anhu. Ukasha ibn Mihsan, Umayr ibn Auf, Abu Lubaba, he was tied to the pillar. So you have pretty much so many people who are part of Salman Farsi, he was another, Huzaifa ibn Yaman, Abu Darda, Abdullah ibn Zayd al-Juhani. So the scholars, they've compiled at least 400 names of Sahaba who at one time or another they were part of Ashab al-Sufa because of their poverty. Now, when the Prophet ﷺ came to Medina, the town of Medina was known for its fever. People used to get sick over there. And some of the companions, they were afflicted by a fever. So amongst them was Abu Bakr, Amir ibn Fuhaira, who had accompanied the two friends during the Hijrah, and Bilal. The fever had not affected the Prophet ﷺ. So the ill companions, they were residing in one house, and Aisha decided to visit them. So this was during the time before the veil had become compulsory, and all three of them were very ill. Right? Abu Bakr, Amir ibn Fuhira, and Bilal. So she first went to her father, inquired about his health. So he recited a couplet saying that death was closer to him than the strap of his sandal. Aisha said, "By Allah, my father does not know what he is saying, because he had that fever, and a person tends to get delirious at times with a fever." So she then went to Amir ibn Fuhira, inquired about his health. He recited some couplets saying that he had experienced death before tasting it. He had experienced death before tasting it. So she said, "By Allah, Amir does not know what he is saying." So the fever had left Bilal at this time, and he was lying down in the corner of the house. So he raised his voice, also recited some couplets. And Aisha Radhiyallahu went to the Prophet ﷺ, told him that what the companions had been saying. So Rasulullah told her that they did not know what they were saying because of the effect of the fever. They were delirious. Then at that point, the Prophet of Allah made dua. He said, "Oh Allah, make us love Medina as much or more than we love Makkah." Make us love Medina as much or more than we love Makkah. Oh Allah, make it healthy and bless its mud. Allahumma barik fi muddina wa sa'ina. And take away its fever and put it in a juhfa. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered the supplication of Rasulullah, removed the fever from Medina, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed the trade. Any kind of commerce, any kind of business in Medina, it flourished at that point because of this dua of Rasulullah. So the mud and sa', they were volume measurements. They were commonly used in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. According to some opinions, the sa' in today's terms would be approximately a little more than a gallon, 5.88 liters. This was the sa'. So one sa' would equal 4 mud. So one mud is maybe 1.4 liters. So Rasulullah would use a mud. It was a volume, it was like a small utensil, and he would use this to perform wudu and ghusl. And Anas narrated that the Prophet ﷺ used to bathe, or used to take a bath with one sa'. One sa'. So about a little more than a gallon of water. And he used to do wudu with one mud. 1.4 liters of water. So that really puts things in perspective when we do wudu. That how much water we must be wasting, because we have the advantage of, faucets and taps. In those days, water was a precious commodity, and they didn't waste it. They didn't waste water. They were very careful how they used water. And even, it comes in hadith, right, that the Prophet ﷺ said that even if a person is doing wudu at a flowing creek, then a person should not waste water. A person should not waste water. Otherwise, this is squandering the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us understanding. We'll stop over here.